What's going on, guys? Crazy times right now. My birthday just passed not too long ago. I am now 48 years old. I am almost 50. It's insane. I can't even fathom the idea that I'm almost turning 50. When I hit 40 the first time around, it's only one time actually, I was like, holy shit, I'm no longer in my 30s. Man. So, what do I have to share with you guys? And regarding all this, my years of experience doing IT for the last 20 plus years, I've ran multiple businesses. I am nowhere near what I feel like I should be at as far as being successful. I do own a bunch of real estate properties that I rent out, and that's been working great. Um, I actually have my wife taking care of a lot of the back end stuff where I don't have to manage it anymore. I have a property manager as well. I'm still studying. I try my best to focus on things that I still enjoy doing, which is what made me become where I am today as far as being technical in IT. I was a consultant, way back when. Started my whole journey as IT consultant working for free, if you can imagine that. When I was still in college, I had no direction in life. But during the time when I was in college, I fell into computer science. And that was not my first choice. My first choice, because I was in the high school for art and design, I was actually an architect. I was learning architecture. And I thought I was going to fall into that category of architecture because this was in the mid to late 90s, where we're not talking about a lot of computer stuff going on at that time. Although there was. I'm not saying that there wasn't. It just is not as big as it is now. Okay. I mean, Microsoft existed back then, Apple existed back then. And that was pretty much it. And I mean, you had Novell, you had Unix, and you had Linux still. You had everything, but not to the volume of all the other companies that exist today. Okay. So I was studying architecture for 4 years in high school, and I was like, this is getting boring. I really don't want to do this. Although architects do get paid good money, I was like, I wanted to do something more interesting and want more fun. And I ended up going into, I said to myself, I wanted to go into toy design, right? I wanted to design toys. I loved it. Toys like Transformers, things that were technical in a sense and but still, for enjoyment, entertainment. That didn't work out too well because I didn't get accepted to the school that I applied for, which was the college that was offering that type of courses. So I was like, shoot, I didn't have much options at that point. One thing led to another. I kind of really remember this, and just coming out of high school, because you have to start applying early to the colleges. I threw my application a whole bunch of places, and I ended up going to a private college here in New York City and studying computer science. And I remember so clearly, like the stuff that I was learning there was not like the most technical stuff. I was learning things like OSHA. I was learning things like hardware, like what's a motherboard, what's a processor, like all those basic things of like A plus kind of a tutorial teaching you about the basics of computers, right? How does electricity, the power supply, and this and that. So while I was doing that, and then the back end to that, how the hell did I ended up working for a consulting firm that was paying no money? My my mother's best friend at the time, she said, "Oh, my son just opened up a consulting firm," and I knew him, but I didn't know that's what he did for work. He was probably 10 years my senior. So you can imagine I was in high school going into college. So he was probably in his late 20s or early 30s. And I was just a kid, 18 years old, 18, 19. He took my offer, he took me up, right? He started teaching me things. And I started, following him and learning. And I remember so clearly the way he taught me was he literally made me go out to client sites because we were consulting for him. Made me go out client site. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I had nothing, no knowledge as far as what the hell I was supposed to troubleshoot or fix. But as a consulting firm, we were a service to help them fix their computers, right? So I got sent out and he goes, just figure it out. Just try whatever you think would work. And I was like, holy shit. Of course, I had some experience working here. Not working, I'm not getting paid, but I was leading up to that point, right? I was learning things to get to that point. Like he goes, you know this. I mean, it's nothing trivial. It's all logical, right? So figure it out. And I did. Took me a little longer than expected. And at the same time, you had to be professional about it because you didn't want the client to come back and like, this guy doesn't know shit. Get him out of here, right? You had to play that part as well. And I learned a lot during that time. And, fast forward, I'm 48 now. I got into cybersecurity by chance, by luck. I was still a network engineer when the offer was presented to me. And that was the first time the CIO wanted to promote one of the guys internally. I was working for a healthcare company internally to a cybersecurity manager and slash compliance. This role was managing yourself because there was no team. There was no cybersecurity whatsoever. It's just a new development at that point in time. And it was a requirement. So it was actually presented to someone before me, and that person didn't want it. He was actually at the organization longer than I was, and he refused. He didn't want to get into the cybersecurity side. He just wanted to stay on the networking, architect, infrastructure side. And I was second runner up. I was second in line to him, and the CIO presented me the offer. I looked at it, and the offer letter actually had a salary on it already, and it was exactly $100,000 even at that time. I was like, holy shit. At that point in time, I was making like 70 grand as a IT admin, right? System admin. And, putting the network together and working with credit card swipes and a lot of medical devices. It was a healthcare company. So the 100 grand, I was like, holy cow. I didn't have to run around as much anymore. I didn't have to go location to location, troubleshooting network, switches, configuring routers and switches and stuff like that anymore. My attention diverted over to compliance and figuring out how to, block spam emails, which we were getting a lot of during that time. Not a lot of tools to prevent it from coming in. Definitely no EDRs at that point in time. CrowdStrike didn't even exist yet. The only tools that we had were like antivirus and configuring your firewall and BitLocker, right? Microsoft had a few tools. I don't think Defender was even a thing yet, but eventually it became a thing while I was still there. And then that's how I ended up starting cybersecurity. And to this day, I haven't stopped. But as I'm getting older, I mean, that was probably 15, if not almost 20 years ago. And now I'm 48. I think that, there's a lot more to learn, that's for sure. It is getting a lot more competitive because there's a lot more people in this field. And there's so many different directions that you can take. I definitely, even though I've been doing this for a long time, do not ever claim that I know more than the next guy, or even the younger guy. Everyone has the ability to showcase what they're proficient in. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share that with you, how I got started. I was literally working for a few years, not getting paid. And I remember very clearly the person that I was working for where I wasn't getting paid. They bought me lunch, they bought me dinner, they taught me. I used my own money, right? Whatever allowance I had during that time because I wasn't working, from my parents, I ended up buying. I actually had a credit card. I applied for a credit card. It was so easy to get credit cards. I think it's still easy to get now, but because they knew that you were in college, they, in the front of the lobby or whatever, they always had these credit card vendors, and you sign up. And the first thing I did was I ran to the computer bookstore, which was plenty back then. It wasn't just Barnes and Nobles. It was like there was actual mom and pop shop bookstores that sold computer certification. I love this one place in Manhattan. They had all these books, and they were all certification books. Microsoft and Novell, and you bought books in Java and all these different computer books, C++, and all this. So I bought my first set of MCSE books, and during that time, that's when Amazon just started becoming a thing. And you could have bought it there, you could have bought it at Barnes and Nobles, wherever. There was a lot of resources to buy hard copy books. Ebooks was definitely not a real thing yet at that time, like it is now. And that's how I ended up getting to where I am with certifications, and then started doing the Cisco stuff. But the whole cybersecurity certifications became, as time went on, obviously, when I got to that point where I was given that opportunity to become a cybersecurity, and again, that was by luck. It wasn't something I applied for. It was presented to me. And from that point on, I ran with it to this day now. And that's the lucky part. I didn't go to school specific for cybersecurity. I went to school for computer science. I learned about Visual Basic. I learned about C++, and other logical components of a hardware, things like that. Of course, I think the learning curriculum has definitely changed dramatically from what it was then in the late 90s and early 2000s to what it is now. I mean, that's 25 years, if not more. My goodness, definitely dating myself. So hopefully, I just wanted to share this story with you guys because, it's just a little history about my background. Not everyone was able to start off, as a cybersecurity professional. I don't think, for me, that didn't exist. I know a lot of you guys are coming out directly into that because you're in school for cybersecurity specifically. This industry has definitely grown and is always dynamically changing. So, I think by next year, there's going to be even more changes, especially with this whole AI stuff going on. I'm trying to keep up, and I'll definitely share more stories that I have on my behalf if you guys find this interesting. But that's pretty much how I got into where I am now. All right. Thank you guys for listening in, and I'll see you guys again really soon. Take care.